Noel Gordon. Now, Noel featured on the BBC documentary this word that I really do not like, subnormal, a British scandal. We're going to hear from Noel Gordon for this special segment on UK Black Men Talk Show. Welcome, Noel. Welcome.
Greetings,
Noel. Thanks for joining us on UK Black Men Talk Show live on Supreme FM. Noel, I'm just going to check in with you before we get into the conversation. Just checking in how you're feeling right now. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right.
We have a tradition on UK Black Men Talk Show where I ask you for a number 1 to 10 of how you're feeling and a word of how you're feeling in the moment. So, Noel, if you'd like to just let me know a number of 1 to 10 of how you're feeling right now.
Probably about an 8.
An 8? And what word comes to mind for you right now to describe how you're feeling right now just before this interview continues?
I'd say, I don't know, happy just, when you said that, happy just came to mind.
Happy. That's a really cool place to start, because this is a really, wow, I researched it and I watched the documentary. Your story, Noel, got some questions. I want you to just start wherever you feel comfortable starting. This scandal, it is absolutely, some people will find it just unbelievable. You were a child and you were sent to special education.
Yeah, special school.
Special school.
Yeah, for children where education is subnormal. I was born in 1966 on an RAF base, Holton Camp, Wendover. Because the British government invited people from the Caribbean. My parents came from Jamaica to come here and work. So that's where I was born in 1966. My parents arrived like 6 years before that. And a healthy baby, no problems. Mum took me to Stoke Mandeville Hospital, did our famous Paralympic hospital, because I had problems with my baby teeth. And they said, we can sort them out for you. I wake up in a hospital bed, 4 doctors holding me down, giving me a blood transfusion. I would later learn. I said to my mum, I've got this condition called sickle cell. Right. And yes, that's how it all started. One doctor said, I won't live to see 12. One said 15, and one said 21. And my dad just went mad, because he said, hang on a minute. He went in all right, and they're telling me he's got this condition, you're giving him a blood transfusion. Because I had 8 siblings born in Jamaica, brothers and sisters. No issues, no problems at all. So it was very suspect. I go in there all right, and all of a sudden I've got this condition, and they're just looking at my teeth, baby teeth that would have come out naturally anyway. So it was cloak and dagger stuff, and the West Indian community was up in arms. I got over that. When I was 6, this man comes to my house. He says to my mum, he's from the education department. He says, we've got a school for him to go to. It's a special needs boarding school. There's a matron there to keep an eye on him because I've got this condition. And my mum thought, well, it's a bit young to go, but I'll agree to it. And then after that, out of the blue, he says to my mum, I'm dunce. And my mum thinks, dunce, but I'm only 6. School will sort it out. And this was related to my dad. And for some reason, he sort of believed them that I'm dunce. So I'm in my first day in this school. I picked up by taxi, bring me there, 15 miles from home. I live in a place called Aylesbury. The school's in a place called Betchley, Milton Keynes. My first day in school, I get called the N-word. First day in class. This boy had some profound learning difficulties, unbeknownst to me at the time. I just thought it was a bit strange. The first night I cried for my mum, and after that I was all right.
This is, no, for people just listening, there's going to be people shocked hearing this. And I want to give you that space to share your story. What's coming out for me right now is your parents weren't informed, so they didn't inform your parents of where you were actually being sent to.
No, they weren't told. No, they lied to them. And what much later on in life, I realised that these schools we were deliberately sent to these schools. And when my parents, they found out early on. I got punched in the back by a boy of 15, 16, sent me flying. And so I get on the phone, I reverse the charges to my home, speak to my mum. Now I'm supposed to be dunce, right? But I can speak to the operator, give them my home number, reverse the charges, and my mum answers the phone and she said, all right, don't worry, Dad will come, I'm about to start the night shift. So my dad comes with my brother an hour later, and headmaster sent for the boy. My dad took one look at him and he goes, hang on, this is a school for handicapped children. Headmaster said, yeah, but we don't call them that, we call them slow learners. So my brother turns to my dad and said, you're going to leave him here? My dad said, what can I do? My hands are tied. My dad didn't realise at the time he could have appealed all that. See, even the headmaster didn't say, well, we've got no curriculum.
No curriculum. So you went to school every day.
So they picked me up on a Monday, bring me back on a Friday. So I'm there for 5 days a week. And when I started, I was 6, so I'm in a very young, infant class, basically.
Yes, early. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And one thing we did do, the reading scheme started early, but it was very basic reading, simple syllable words, 1 and 2 syllables. And on a Monday morning, I would write automatically. I would just write everything I see on television. But spelling was not an issue then. So my early school life it was just playing games, and on a Monday we'd do the reading scheme. But after that, there wasn't much learning taking place at that age. Yes,
Yes.
so I moved up a year, and they didn't even the writing. Well, they didn't cater for it because they had no curriculum, so it just fell off my radar. There was no encouragement. I wasn't encouraged to do it because the format wasn't the same format.
Hmm.
And as the years rolled by, we didn't even learn the times tables. A lot of craft, a lot of drawing, but no actual real learning was taking place because they had no curriculum, so they had no format to cover the children in that age group from 6 to 16. And the problem with that school was I realised later it was set up for subnormal children that were physically and mentally handicapped. A lot of the children had mental problems,
So what
and there were a
was?
few that was normal, like myself.
Because I was going to ask you that what it would be like for you every day attending a school and your peers. There's not people to communicate with. Like, how did you bond with anybody? What was that
Yeah,
like?
yeah, because
Yeah.
what it was, there were some children there that were normal. I would say we were normal children when you compare them to the normal ones seemed to stick together. The others with the learning difficulties, some of them quite profound. We just let them get what they're doing because we didn't really communicate with them. That was just so and so, and it's a bit funny in the head. But there were quite a few of us there that weren't normal, and it was a day school, so some children would go home every day, and then there was us that children that boarded there. The ones that were boarded there, they'd be brought in by taxi or bus. I had some friends. I had some friends. Made some friends in school, and they were just like me. They were normal. And
Because
majority it was not all white school. I was the only black child there. There was a black girl there who was much older than me. She left. She's put me on her lap. And she left after that. After she left, it was just me in all white school.
just
I,
you, yes.
yeah, I made friends quickly and all that.
And for some of our listeners, because obviously the terms that we're using, for some people who don't know the D word, you said that word, like what
The
does,
dance.
yeah, somebody explain that to people who
Well,
might not
J-
know what that's,
well,
yeah.
in the Caribbean, in particular Jamaica, they seem to take different things from the British Empire. And the word dunce meant that you were stupid, you're a simpleton. You can't. This is a terminology they used back in the day. Cretinized was another word they used. These were the words that were used in those days. And the word dunce for a Jamaican, that just means you're stupid. You can't even tie your own shoelaces. You've got nothing upstairs.
And this whole, you were placed in a place for, was it the physical and mentally handicapped? They don't use that word. Physical and mentally impaired, whatever words they use. Special needs is a word that's used
Well,
now.
they said, yeah, back in the day, they told my parents it was a special school. But but the children there, the school was set up for children who were educationally subnormal children, children that couldn't learn. Like the boy that punched me in the back, he was like 16, but he had a mental age. He could have been 5 in his head. And there were a few like that, and the rest, I would say, are just falling behind in their schooling. But the problem is because they had no curriculum, you've got no benchmark. You can't really measure yourself. You're not learning your times tables. You're not learning to spell. You're not learning to write. You're not learning the alphabet properly. You know, we had when I was 12, we learned addition and subtraction, and that's it. Nothing more. Teacher gave us. We had one teacher one year, and we didn't even have music lessons. I wanted to play the guitar, so I said, "Miss, can you teach me music?" She said, "Well, get a few more children join you, right, and then we'll do it during the lunch break." And one day she wrote on the board the vowels A. She wrote it on the board, and she said, "That's what you're supposed to be learning." But she left a few weeks later. We get a new teacher coming, doesn't pick up where she left off, and they gave us a book. She gave us a book, and it had 5 words written in that book. I can remember three of them sincerely, faithfully, and successfully. And we hardly ever used it. It was not explained to us how words are made up, how to spell. It was like a free for all. Some days they taught, some days they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back on it, now I'm thinking to myself, how on earth could they get away with that kind of stuff? But it was policy. It was government policy since 1965. Because I've done the research now. After
Yes.
featuring in the documentary, I've been trying. My parents tried in the 70s. They fought tooth and nail. 1972 to 82, they tried to get me out, but nothing worked out. And it was really damaging for me. When I was 12, I was beat up in the playground, beat over it repeatedly, and called a black bee. I mean, bastard's not a swear word, right? Done behind a brick wall by a member of staff, a support worker. So I ran away from school, called all the obvious names, and all that, and the rest of it, and all the swear words. And I ran away from school. They bring me back, put me to bed early because they don't believe me. Luckily for me, that my mum phoned me that evening, crying down the phone. Mum, she called me a black so and so,
Mm-hmm.
and she came in. My dad took me out of school, and this woman maintained the lie that I was lying. But my mum knows me. My parents know me.
They
For
know,
me to start
yes.
swearing, for me to
Mm-hmm.
kick off, something has to be done to me. They knew me. They told him I was lying. My dad said to me, he gets in the car driving away to home. He says, "Tell me the truth." I said, "Yeah." She called me a black bastard.
The B,
Yeah,
yes.
the B word. Yeah,
The B
for no
word.
reason,
That's.
for absolutely no reason. And the assumption was
Mm-hmm.
because my complexion is quite light. So he's probably thinking I'm a mixed race child, right? And no one cares about me. Being left in a school like that, thought she could get away with it. Which he didn't realise. My mum was like Muhammad Ali. She gave us some licks. She dealt
Wow.
with it all right. And after that, the headmaster sacked her. But before they sacked her, they made an arrangement for me to go to a secondary school
Mm-hmm.
on a part-time basis. The problem with that, I've got to turn up at my special school, and 2 days a week I walk around to the normal school. But I'm 15 miles from home. I'm in a school of there's 1,000 white kids in that school. There's nobody that looks like me. I saw one boy that looked like me, but he was much older. Didn't see him again. I get bullied. It feels intimidating. I get called the N word.
Yes.
I found it really intimidating.
It
So
sounds
one day,
like it's.
yes, I didn't want to go back there. And I said to Headmaster, I don't want to go back anymore. He goes, all right, you can stay then. And no other attempt were made to get me out of that school, out of the special school. The same evening, he sacked the woman who called me the black so-and-so. And that's when my problems really started. I was bullied by the deputy headmistress for the next 4 years.
Well, I know
Yeah,
that this is
yeah.
going to trigger some of our parents as well listening as well, because fast forward, there are things happening in
Now,
the
yeah,
education. Yeah, yeah. Messages come through right now, and just commending you for coming on the radio and sharing, because no, you are out there and you are spreading the word. And we're going to continue. We're having a longer segment today. We're going to come back after the break and we're going to continue with this conversation, Noel, and we also are going to hear about how you fought through that and what happened for you, because that is an ordeal, definitely. And your parents, I commend your parents as well, being dedicated to you.
well, see, because it was government policy that two of my brothers, they put them in the local special school because they didn't have sickle cell. They didn't need to be at a school where there's a matron. So they put two of them in the local special school. And this idea that I had to be in a school where there was a matron, they just made it up because there was a matron there. I went swimming when I was 11 and I had a crisis, very painful condition. And I said, no, I'm not feeling well. They put me to bed and give me a hot water bottle, rang my mum. Hours later, they come. My mum picks me up, takes me home, and gives me some painkillers. Give me some of her painkillers. And that's all I needed was some painkillers. The whole thing was mismanaged. We were like cattle to them. We were like, they treated us like cattle, watered and fed, and that's it. They had
It's,
no concern about our mental health, education, because the school was not set up to educate children.
one of our listeners has messaged in that they know of someone who the education department wanted their parents to put them in special school at that time, just after that period that you would have been in there, and they didn't, but the parents were approached for the child to be sent to the special school. I don't know the circumstances, but it's definitely something that was happening. Not everyone knows that was
No,
happening.
no, no. But you see, in London, if you watch people watch the documentary, Subnormal British Scandal, Bernard Core said he was from Grenada, came in to do his masters, and he realised that there were a lot of children in these being sent to these schools because he got a job in one of the schools, and he realised that some of them, there's nothing wrong with these children. Some of them were above average, and he couldn't figure it out. And then when he heard that they called them special schools, he kind of said, "What? What do you mean special?" And he realised that the Caribbean children were put in these institutions.
Yes.
This is so that's why he wrote his book in 1971.
They say all that in the documentary, yes.
Yeah, that's all that's in there. People need, if they haven't watched it, watch it.
The book and the unity, because something else stood out in the documentary for me regarding the unity of the community at that time. As well as we're going to be asking you more questions about that, Noel. Messages are coming through. I will share them after the break. Noel Gordon is here. We're going to continue after the break, everyone. We will be back shortly. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. This is definitely a segment that is triggering people because there are parents out there who are experiencing issues in the system to this day. And hearing Noel Gordon and his story is impacting people. And Noel is going to return to the show, and we're going to continue to hear more about his experience in the education system. So let's keep it moving, as I like to say. Definitely it is so sad to know that parents were not informed. And yeah, Subnormal, it's called, a British scandal. The examination, racism in education. Noel Gordon, welcome back.
Yes, I'm back. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for the messages. One of the messages, Noel, they're just telling you that they appreciate you sharing on air. It really is powerful for our listeners. So Noel, you continue. Yeah.
The reason I'm sharing this, right, is because I've gone on to further education, study and all that, and get 2 degrees. And I've seen the situation in our community and what they did to us and the children, the parents, the Windrush generation. And it's important that we talk about this today so that the government they've got away with murder, basically. Daylight robbery. They got away with everything negative that they did to us. And they're walking around putting themselves in the world saying, "Oh, we're a beacon of light for minorities, we treat them good, we abolish slavery." But that's only half the story. They don't tell you what they really did to us. This happened in 1965. I'll tell you how all this started. It was Sir Edward Boyle, a Tory minister, when the people coming over the Windrush generation, on the Windrush itself, and then people coming later from the Caribbean to work. And some people might not know that they actually tried to turn that boat around. They didn't want people to come here, even though they were invited. They didn't want us to come here at all. So once we started arriving in numbers, in Southall, there were white parents complaining that there's almost 90% of our schools black and Asian, and the parents were making up a noise about it. So Sir Edward Boyle said no more 30%, no more than 30% of immigrant children should be in any one school at any one time. So this was 1963. In 1965, Harold Wilson, a Labour Prime Minister, set up this thing that it would be called busing. They set up other schools outside London, inside London, where children would be moved out, black children would be moved out, picked up on and taken, like I was, picked up on a Monday, brought back on a Friday, and sent to these schools. Some of them were boarding schools. They took away the resources. They were underfunded.
So, let me just pause you there, just in case people who are hearing this for the first time, and just bear with me because a bit of a cold today. Now, you're saying that, and people, we can verify this actually, because the 30%, they didn't want schools to have more black children than they already had. So black children couldn't go to their local schools. Some couldn't go to their local schools. They had to be put on a bus and go miles and miles away from home. That's what you're telling us.
That's right, yeah.
That's what
People,
happened.
because my school was 15 miles from home.
15 miles,
15 miles
from home.
From home, and it was a boarding school. It wasn't practical for my parents to pick me up every day or for them to bring me back, so they said I needed to board there. And this is all highlighted in the documentary Subnormal, the British Scandal on BBC
Yes.
iPlayer.
It can be verified, absolutely.
Yeah, because we've done the research. Another thing I want to point out to you, BBC Radio 4, last summer, I get a phone call from Tej. Her name's Tej. She happens to be half Nigerian. Her parents are Nigerian, so she's born here like us. And she's a producer for a program called Sideways with Matthew Said. And they covered in 20 minutes, they covered the whole issue of what happened to us, why they did it. It's a thing called eugenics. Now, eugenics was what the Nazis were using when they killed 11 million people. And the Europeans were already saying that black people are 12 points behind. Well, not back then. We were seen as two-thirds human.
But I have to put out a disclaimer, definitely, when we get into certain territory. So
yeah, that's true.
You continue. No, you continue.
Yeah. You haven't got to worry about none of that, 'cause all this is fact. It's all facts. Everything I'm saying to you has been said by white Europeans. There was a guy called Hans Eysenck, a German guy, and he was a professor at UCL. A professor. I think it's King's College, not UCL, King's College. He was a professor. And he was on the Dimbleby show. You can look this up you can Google this. You can go on Google, you can type in Hans Eysenck. All right. You can find him on YouTube saying that black children are 12 points behind white children. And this is in the documentary too.
Yes.
So everything I'm saying to you is all fact. It's all facts.
Can be verified.
It can be verified, yeah. There was an uproar at the time. And because in America, he said, well, the American children, the black children, are 12 points behind the white children. If you change the environment, it makes no difference. And on the Dimbleby show here in the UK, he said, you can't educate dull children with bright children. It's not fair on either of them. Now, he's taking the word black out because there was a lot of black people. It would cause an uproar back then anyway. Mm-hmm. And did cause an uproar. But everything I'm saying to you is absolutely true. And on Dr. Chantel, which is from Oxford University, she's a sociologist, I think, and she highlights these facts about eugenics and why it fell out of favour in Europe because of the Nazis. Don't forget they killed 6 million Jews, Gypsies. They were killing disabled children as well. Altogether, they killed 11 million people. And it fell out of favour with Europe. But in England, they were still using the same strategies and same techniques on immigrant children. The thing is, I was born in the UK. My parents came from the Caribbean, which was part of the British Empire. So everything I'm saying to you it's all been verified, it's been fact-checked, and this was the policy. You can go, and the British government have the archives. You can go on, maybe when I come back on next time, I can give you the link to go to on the British website, on the government website. You can see how many schools they had, how the terminology they used about black children. In the 1940s, I think in the 1940s Education Act, the term education is subnormal was used. And after Bernard Cord wrote his book in 1971, there was a big uproar. He changed the whole system by himself. Then later with New Beacon and Bernard Cord and Professor Gus John and the supplementary school system, that says a lot about the British system. Black people had to set up their own supplementary schools because the system was failing them because they were black. No other reason.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. No, about that part there in the documentary when the black people went around and got together. They got together because the system is not going to do it. So black people want you to spread the word. Am I correct? They wanted to spread the word about this new information because what was happening at the time with black children. And there was a book, wasn't there? No, as well.
That's right. Yeah, Bernard Cord wrote a book. It was called "How the West Indian Child is Made Educationally Subnormal in the British School System."
That's it. And they didn't want that out there, apparently. So,
No, what they said it was all lies. When it came out and said it's all lies, he said, hang on a minute, but I've quoted exclusively from your own material. He found this material at the Institute of Education. I think they're based in Houston. He said he found it all there. 6 weeks later, they said, oh, it's all true. It's all true. We have to reform. So what he was showing them is that, because I think it's a powerful thing to turn around and say, tell the system, this is how you've been treating us, and for them to turn around and say it's lies. But then when you say, we're going to look at your own paperwork, it's all there. And one of the boroughs that implemented all this, notorious when it comes to black people and the persecution of us. Yeah, so Bernard Cord wrote that up and wrote the book, and the New Beacon Bookshop, which is just down the road from where I live in Tottenham. I also wrote a children's book. It's for sale in the New Beacon Bookshop. But this supplementary movement, my parents were living in Buckinghamshire, and I had a sister living in Tottenham, but they just weren't book savvy. They didn't know anything about this. And I'm in Buckinghamshire. I know my parents didn't really hear about this stuff. And if they did, when I go out of that school a lot sooner. And so this stuff is quite deep, it's quite profound in how you can invite people to come and work for you, help you build your empire. I'm talking about slavery, and then you can target them and say, well, no, you can't do this sort of work. We want you to do the labouring and cleaning jobs. You people are stupid anyway. It's quite profound, it's quite deep, and we have an opportunity now in this time frame to hold them accountable for it. They've destroyed my life. Imagine growing up in a family and your brothers and sisters are looking at you as the dunce, as somebody who's retarded.
The word I'm going to use then, someone who neurologically, whether people want to call it disabled, different, diverse.
Well, this is the big topic, right? Because if you put a child in a school for the age of 6 and you don't educate that child, there's no education, there's no curriculum. If you test that child for dyslexia, they're going to present as being dyslexic. And back in the day, they didn't know about dyslexia. But if you're middle class, then you could get the right resources for your children. But if you're working class, if you don't know how the system works, you'll be left for the problem to be compounded. And dyslexia wasn't even used in my school. They didn't even that term wasn't even read reference to, because the school was set up for educationally subnormal children, some with mental difficulties, some with physical disabilities.
Yes.
And so going back to that word dunce, it's just the English. There's a film, black and white film, called Centennials, and the British, the term dunce, they put a dunce cap on one of the children if they didn't know a maths question, for example. But once they learned it, they would remove the dunce cap and put it on another child if they didn't know something. But in the Caribbean, even my grandmother would use that term, I'm told, but jokingly, but in a joking type of way, child-friendly type of way, where people put their own twist on it, and it becomes something completely different.
And you had that label.
Yeah, I had that label. Until I'm 15, and my dad said, telling my uncle that I'm dunce. And my dad believed I was dunce because of what they told him. He actually believed it. And one day I was playing with him. I'm very young. He said, "Oh, you don't want to learn," because that was his perception. But he could have taught me everything I needed to know. He was a walking calculator. He was that good.